I'll be talking on the pediatric cataract management options. Again, I have no financial interest to disclose. Despite the surgical advances in the surgical technique and better understanding of the pediatric anatomy, the long-term visual outcome is affected by amblyopia due to cataract itself or due to re-opacification of the media. Therefore, IOL implantation in children is a challenge, especially in infants, due to uncertainty of growth, increased post-operative inflammation, and most important of all, the difficult documentation of refractive changes, which makes the visual rehabilitation ineffective. What makes various factors make it different from that of adults? First, the surgical technique itself, controversies about IOL power calculation and implantation, and following surgery, the management and the rehabilitation of the child. Pediatric cataract surgery is altogether a different ballgame because the pediatric cataract lacks the hard nucleus. The nucleus is really soft. There is reduced scleral rigidity with an increased vitreous upthrust. Therefore, it is very important for us to maintain the anterior chamber all during the surgery. As you can see in this video, 2 stab incisions with the MVR blade are made to maintain the anterior chamber. Snug fit instruments should be used. The anterior rhexis can be created using the usual Utrata capsulorhexis forceps, or the micro rhexis forceps can be used, which gives a better stability to the anterior chamber. Due to increased elasticity of the capsule, we should use the grasp and re-grasp technique. For the aspiration of the nucleus, surgeons prefer the phaco-aspiration. What I personally prefer is the bimanual technique, either using the separate irrigation and aspiration handpiece or the anterior chamber maintainer. We should always suture the corneal or the scleral incision, and always prefer the superior approach because the children are more prone to trauma. The primary posterior rhexis capsulorhexis is created using the microrhexis forceps, which gives a better stability to the anterior chamber. And it is always advisable to make the primary posterior rhexis in children less than 6 years of age, or in case of any other disability or mental retardation. The next question which arises is whether to implant an IOL or not. 2 years and more is the most widely accepted, but nowadays more and more surgeons are preferring use of intraocular lens even in infants. Therefore, we should always have this in mind that primary implantation should be done only in children who have appropriate axis length for the age with no associated ocular or systemic abnormality. We can either follow the emetropic approach or the hyperopic approach. While the emetropic approach gives short-term results, good short-term results, it needs correction of the high myopic shift in later years. I prefer the hyperopic approach, which has good long-term results with immediate refractive error correction and rigorous amblyopia management. There are various IOL formulas available for undercorrection. The easiest to remember is the rule of 7 as suggested by Andy et al. This is basically that we should target for a refraction of 7 minus the age at presentation. So if we have a child of suppose 2 years of age and the emetropic IOL power by parametry is 28 diopters, we should desire an undercorrection of 5 and therefore implant an IOL of 23 diopters. Various intraocular lenses are available. Hydrophobic acrylic IOL is preferred because of better biocompatibility and decreased chances of posterior capsular opacification. Single piece lens is preferred for in-the-bag fixation and multi-piece for sulcus fixation. Post-operatively, steroids with cycloplegics like atropine is a must along with antibiotics, and examination should be done at 1 week, 4 week and subsequently. In case sutures have been placed, suture removal should be done at 2 to 4 weeks post-operatively to prevent any associated suture-related infections. Examination under anesthesia is a must once yearly to evaluate the intraocular pressure, the diffraction, peripheral retina examination and changes in axis length. Glasses with near addition or contact lenses should be given immediately if the child is left aphakic. In case of pseudophakics, the residual refractive error should be corrected once the wound stabilizes. Regular follow-up is needed. In case the child has presented to you with unilateral cataract or a fixation preference with an associated squint, please do patching. Therefore, successful refractive outcome in children not only depends upon a good surgery, but also the refractive status of the fellow eye, careful biometry, and most important of all, post-operative rigorous visual rehabilitation. Thank you.